what is the function of art? And I think there you have to kind of look at it also about, and this may sound stupid, but the art market. Because most of what you see today is art that has become marketable.
Art sells. There are people who say art sells. I think Steve Jobs defined it, and he said, "Real artists ship." That was the thing. You know, you're a hobbyist,
if you talk to
or
Uli,
you ship. You sold your piece. You are now. This is such a hard thing for artists to deal with, because listen, you can be someone who does artistic things, but when you define yourself, like my profession is, I'm an artist, that means you sell things. That means that you actually ship your art to a certain extent.
Most artists actually, I guess, don't really sell things. In a way, you could also say, in my case, it was a cop-out in the sense of saying, well, I could have become a painter, but I didn't trust the art itself to be saleable. So I packaged it into the guitar thing because there I have an object that, and in truth, it's the opposite actually.
Okay.
In the sense that the art for many people devalues the guitar, and the guitar aspect devalues the art aspect.
I mean, it can certainly. I mean, I certainly sell artistic guitars at higher values because of the art.
There's a question.
To a defined market.
Well, yes, there's a question. I mean, if you take some of the high-priced art guitars, they're artisan guitars.
Yeah, sure.
Very few of them are actually, in the sense, an expression of an artistic. They're decorative very often, or designed. And there's differences in that in terms of how it works.
We're getting into the minutiae of the line,
but anyway,
the very blurry line between art and design.
We got into trouble in Tokyo because of that, because
at the Tokyo Art Fair.
Tokyo Art Fair, that we were to exhibit, 6 of us, 6 luthiers, Claudio Pagelli and Michi and Kaz. The people running the show said, the fair said, well, this is not art. We cannot exhibit this. And eventually a compromise was reached. There's also a case where somebody imported a Demaides guitar to America. And art is exempt from import taxes. So he declared it as art. And so there is a case which has been adjudicated. If it's useful, the judge said, it cannot be art, and you have to pay the tax and the customs.
So that's an actual case involving a guitar.
Actual judgment involving a guitar that, to some people, may actually have the definition of this is a piece of art.
That's really interesting, because on a taxation level, I see that as a very useful definition. Whereas I've really struggled with that definition before, because I've always thought, well, that's bullshit. You know, why can't we still call it art if it's useful? And I really thought that was just a lazy way of defining it. But in that scenario, the taxation issue, I'll go there. But I'll also, you know, come back at it and say that might be a current circumstance, but I think you and I have also discussed before the Armory show where Brancusi's work was levied a tax against it because the American customs didn't see it as art.
Well,
and
that's what I'm saying.
They levied a really high tax and called it kitchen utensils and medical supplies. And Duchamp and Peggy Guggenheim, and they all fought it. And now the point I'm getting to is that the problem was, at the time, sculptural art was defined as basically mimicking real life. So that sculpture could be of a person or of a deer or a
you have the.
And so there's these great photographs where they took pictures of like Brancusi's Mademoiselle Pogani, and they had an Italian actress there with her hair done up so that you could look at the two side by side and see the abstraction of a female form between them. Because the American lawyers were literally saying that they made jokes, they mocked him. They said, Mr. Brancusi, if this is what women look like where you're from, we're indeed very sorry for you. You know, but in the end, the definition of sculpture was redefined in American law. And so I still remain hopeful that we might yet redefine the law
Well,
to include what
I
we
think,
currently call design objects or
yeah.
useful objects.
Well, this is more something, let's put it this way. This is the orthodox view in the lawyer and art world also to a large extent. I mean,
Yes.
today it even extends in terms of the whole conceptual art thing into, if it's anything aesthetic, then it's not art anymore.
100 years ago, there was a raging debate about photographs as to whether that could be called art, but
Yeah.
people don't really debate anymore as to whether a photograph can be
Well,
called
whatever can
art,
today,
right?
in a way, there's a reality, and then there's the other discussion about quality and all that. But it becomes very arbitrary. In essence, you have to look at it. It's a huge institution which has two functions:
Sure.
create a market and perpetuating itself. That's what
Okay.
art critics,
That's
a lot of the artists
Could
who
we
have
redefine that
access-
as create the market and sustain the creation of the market?
No, I think it's really
Perpetuate.
perpetuating itself in terms of the various functions within that market.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some figures that are enormously influential, and they're usually gallerists.
Yeah. Okay.
That manage to package something in a way, and then because of their reputation and all that. I dropped out of art school in a way because I got kind of pissed off at the whole thing, because it is behind the curtain of a lot of this stuff happening, like you say, these, which are actually little industries. A lot of the successful artists are,
sure.
They have a whole, they're not, it's a bit like in the old studios where the master had a whole bunch of, he painted some stuff, and then he had his apprentices fill in the rest.
Yes.
And just correct it and stuff like that. It's the process. So in a way, my approach is different in the sense that I don't have this awe in front of art. Most art, actually. Not a. There are some things that I'm in awe of, but
I'm with you. Yeah. Doesn't affect us
for the
all.
most part, I see the arbitrariness and the fact that, okay, this person does cool stuff, and that's cool. But it's not, it's a bit like in sports when you have a guy and, he's a great athlete, and you go, he's not a god, he's just a guy who's good at what he's doing. And aside from what he's doing there, he may be a rather poor, despicable human being.
Yes.
It's not the whole kind of mythology around that. So I'm perfectly comfortable for myself to say, okay, I'm not claiming that what I do is artist or not. That's in the eye of the beholder in the end. I'm claiming the space to do what I feel works for me.
Thank you for watching and listening. You can find more episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts, and a special thanks to those who support us on Patreon. It's your support that enables us to do this work.